No doubt Simon will throw his hat into the ring in this one because this is an extremely interesting sequence of events. It is the world of F1. And here's a question for you. How far back in time should someone be allowed to go to right what they perceive to be a sporting wrong? Let me explain. A legal battle over Lewis Hamilton's 2008 Formula One World Championship win over Felipe Massa will be heard right here at the High Court next month. Now, it's an interesting one, this. F1, the thing is dubbed Crashgate. Crashgate, a scandal, which is due to begin more than 18 months after former Ferrari driver Massa lodged a claim for damages in connection to the outcome of the 2008 title standings, which he lost to Hamilton by a single point. Now, this is key here. The crux point came during the Singapore Grand Prix during that season, where Renault allegedly secretly ordered Nelson Piquet Jr. to crash his car, which helped teammate Fernando Alonso win the race at Felipe Massa's expense. So now it's all ended up in court. Lewis Hamilton's spoken about this before. Back in 2023, he said of Massa's intended legal challenge, if that's the direction that Felipe wants to go in, well, that's his decision. I prefer not to focus on the past, whether it's 15 years ago, 2 years ago, or 3 days ago. I'm only interested in the present. I wonder what Martin Turner, former Sky Sports F1 director, has got to say about this. Martin, this is a curious one, isn't it? And it's all going to end up in the High Court. And one Felipe Massa is very keen to see justice done in his eyes, isn't he? Take us back to that race back in 2008 and what actually happened.
First of all, happy birthday, Simon, talkSPORT's most erudite pundit. I can't forget that.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Back in 2008, and we didn't know about it in 2008, which is the important thing. In the Singapore Grand Prix, Nelson Piquet Jr., another Brazilian, deliberately crashed his car to help Alonso, his teammate, win the race. Now, the fact was we didn't know about it. So take us back to 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix, and Felipe Massa, it starts the race 7 points behind Lewis Hamilton. He has to win that race, and Lewis Hamilton has to finish 6 or below for him to win the World Championship at the home, or one of the spiritual homes of Formula One, Interlagos. Brazilians going mad for it. So Felipe Massa comes over the line. He's won the championship because going into the last lap, Hamilton was 6th. But during the last lap, Hamilton overtakes Timo Glock and finishes 5th and wins the World Championship by 1 point. Fast forward a year, in 2009, Nelson Piquet comes clean about Crashgate and suggests that he was asked to crash his car deliberately.
Martin, we're going to jump out and jump back in again to get a better line from you. Simon, you get the rough idea of this, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the broad strokes is at the time there's a supposition that there was a cover-up and that the image of the sport was being protected by Max Mosley and by Bernie Ecclestone, who was the incumbent lead influence in the F1 sport, obviously prior to the sale of Liberty. It also seems to be turning on evidence that Bernie Ecclestone himself seems to have given in an informal interview where he suggests that he understood the situation, understood what had gone on, and did it for the well-being of the sport.
You're right, but he now denies that. I think Martin Turner is back with us. So carry on, Martin. Where does it take us from there as we head to the High Court here in London?
Well, as Simon says, I don't think there is any question that there were shenanigans and that Nelson Piquet Jr. did deliberately crash his car. There's 2 problems. One, how much should Felipe Massa receive in compensation if they regard that he should receive a compensation? And 2, should he receive the World Championship? I can't see the latter happening. There are 2 other examples, Damon Hill being deliberately nerfed by Michael Schumacher in 1994, and also Lewis Hamilton in 2021, where the race director Michael Massey changed the rules with 5 laps to go in a race that Lewis Hamilton would have then won the World Championship. So I don't think there's any chance of that happening.
What's the driver, Martin? Is the driver financial recompense or is it accreditation? Because if you don't get the accreditation in terms of the reputational re-establishment of winning a World Championship, you don't get the finances. This feels to me like it's a situation where it gets settled outside of a court by people threatening to sue one another, getting into a court hearing and then possibly coming to a settlement. Because if you can't be awarded the World Championship, then it has to be about money.
I think it's slightly more nuanced than that. Felipe Massa is a tragic figure.
Right.
He was going to be the first Brazilian since Ayrton Senna to win the World Championship. He did everything he could, and for about 45 seconds, he was the world champion, and Brazil was going wild. I think after that, in 2009, he had a very serious accident, and he never won another race, even though he was in Formula One for another 5 years. So I think there's a lot of validation about this, a lot of stuff that's very personal to Felipe, who is a lovely guy and feels very badly treated. And he was badly treated, and they're pretty brutal, the Brazilian fans. They're like British, English
but if he
football
doesn't
fans.
if your supposition is right, and I've no reason to suggest that it's not, that he doesn't get awarded a World Championship, how does he establish that validation? I mean, Nick DeMarco, who's representing him, is not an ambulance chaser. He knows his onions. So what does he achieve if he can't get given a World Championship? All he's going to be given in replacement of that is some money. Is that validation in and of itself?
I think it's validation in terms of his home country,
Right.
and they will see that he was wronged, because I don't think it's about the money. I think it's about his personal reputation and him being validated as someone who should or could have won the World Championship. Because, of course, if that race had been annulled at the time, who's to say that Hamilton wouldn't have done more to win the title in the last 3 races that occurred after it? So, because remember, Hamilton should have won the world title the year before, in his first year. So this kind of bad luck happens a lot in Formula One. It certainly happened to Lewis Hamilton in 2021 with Max Verstappen. So, but I think it is about validation, and I think it's about validation as a heroic figure rather than a tragic figure in Brazil.
I can see where Simon's going with it, though, Martin. Say he wins damages, and they're talking about the territory of £60 million, which is a very nice territory to be in. And as Simon rightly says, he's being represented, Massa, by Nick DeMarco KC, who we know on this show. Does that de facto mean he should have been given the world championship then?
Well, I think he will feel that it proves that he was closer to the world championship than he eventually became.
Right.
And as he only lost it by 1 point, I think it will be a personal satisfaction. Obviously, 60 million is a great degree of personal satisfaction. But I think because of the way it is, the levels to which the Brazilian Formula One fans go to, I think it is very important in a way that it's probably not important anywhere else except perhaps Italy with Ferrari.
But the fascinating thing is, I mean, yes, if it's in a neighbourhood of 60 million, which is a very respectable neighbourhood, then of course you'd take the benefits of it. These numbers are thrown around. These numbers are thrown around to create fear. You see American class actions left, right, and centre for 100 million, and they don't get anywhere near it. But if it goes into court and we're turning evidence on the basis of, I mean, I've been in court for fraudulent misrepresentation, where it's one man's word against another. It's a very difficult case to prove. If he doesn't get, if they settle, or if they find some way to establish a financial remuneration, guaranteed, unless it's a court judgment, the people that are having to pay this restitution are going to want it to be very qualified, and are not going to allow him to do a victory lap saying, "See, I was a world champion."
Yeah.
I don't think he'll need to. I think the fact that they give it up will be assumed that he was wronged.
Okay.
One question for me to finish with, Martin. Why wasn't it investigated fully around that time?
Well, that's a very good question. Why wasn't it investigated in 2008? And then why wasn't it further investigated in 2009? I mean, Massa had a serious crash in 2009, so I think that's a part of it. But also,
doesn't it bring the sport into the integrity of the sport into question? Isn't that the reasons why it would have been hushed away by Mosley and Ecclestone, because it makes it look a bit corrupt?
Yeah, well, Bernie certainly said that he wanted to save the sport.
and it wasn't something that he was responsible for. So, or Max Mosley or John Todd. So it's a difficult one. Only they will know what their motivation was. I think I can't speak for Bernie Ecclestone, and I wouldn't want to. But certainly, as far as Felipe Massa is concerned, I do think he will think there's validation. He had the serious accident he had in 2009 effectively ended his potential for becoming a world champion. He was so close. He was world champion for about 40 seconds.
40 seconds. Wow. What a story it is. Martin Turner, always good to speak to you. I haven't seen you for a while, Martin. We'll do something about that very soon. Former F1 director and a colleague of mine at Sky Sports, the top man when it came to broadcasting the world of F1 and the races all around the world circuit. Martin Turner, thank you very much indeed. It should be emphasised that Bernie Ecclestone and the FIA are said to be applying to the High Court to strike out Massa's claim, denying any wrongdoing and arguing his lawsuit is time barred.
You know what strikeout means, don't you?
Go on.
It means you don't even have a case. You're not even worthy of listening to.
Before it even starts.
Strikeout basically means you don't. Englishman always gets his day in court, right? That's the law of the land, prospectively. If you strike someone out because I've done it, it means you got nothing to say. You haven't even got a case. Yeah. We don't even have to answer to you.
On that, Simon, how far back in time should someone be allowed to go to, as I said at the top of this, to right what they perceive to be a sporting wrong?
Well, it depends upon what the situation is. If you've been a victim of some degree of fraud or conspired and confected outcome, then you should go back until that's been righted.
Right, which is what Massa alleges.
Indeed.
Although that is strongly denied. We'll see if it does end up in court, just up the road from here, the High Court in London. Just gone 12:15.
No, it will.